Oh, look, we're at the post office.
How are you today?
Hi there.
Thanks for stopping at the post office. This is our post office. This is our front entry area with our retail counter.
Before she does that, can you mute that? Give us 1 second, everyone.
Did you hit mute?
Okay.
We've got lots of stamps on sale. Here's our display case with all the stamps that we have. Lots to pick from. Do you like Scooby-Doo? We have flowers, lighthouses, all kind. We have otters playing in the snow. There's a couple of different ways to receive your mail. These are our P.O. boxes. These customers actually come into the post office and get their mail out of their box. That's how they get mail. How do you get mail at your house? I hear one of my carriers just came back. Let's go meet Brittany. Brittany just came back off of a route. Hi, Brittany. And she brought mail with her. Every time she goes to somebody's house and delivers mail, she often picks mail up from their house. So she's got a big old tub full of all the mail that she picked up today. And we're going to send it out down to Milwaukee so it can get delivered to all the different places it's going. This one's going to Cincinnati, Ohio. This one's going to Vermont. This one's going to stay right here in Wisconsin. We get mail for all over the place. It all gets sent downtown to Milwaukee where they sort it. What happens when you mail a letter? I'm going to have Miss Stacy come and get a different viewpoint. And if you want to look at it there. When you mail your letter here at the Ixonia Post Office, it goes through this hole in the wall. Got it? So if I'm a customer and I'm mailing a letter through the hole in the wall, did you see where it ended up? That's the first step in mailing a letter. Back on this side, we pick up the mail and we go ahead and we send it out downtown to Milwaukee. It all gets bundled all together. And when it gets downtown to Milwaukee, they sort it out. If you get your mail delivered at your house in a mailbox, then your mail gets delivered a different way than a P.O. box. If you want to back up that way, we can look at this route. So every day our carriers come in, they put mail into every one of these 600 little holes. They put your magazines, your letters, everything in there. And then they go through and they pull it all out and keep track of it and organize it and take it out to the street and deliver it. This route is 25 miles long. It covers a couple of our subdivisions. Woody Lane, anybody live on Woody Lane? We also have Forest Drive, Timber Ridge, Water Lily, Stony Brook Court, Parkview Drive up there by the park and near the school. Oh, where's the school? Right here, 8425 North Street. That's where we deliver the school mail too. I think I had heard that there were some questions you guys had. I've got a list of them.
Yeah, we can switch to those if you want to sit side by side. We just do
Sure,
that?
that would work.
Let's see.
I keep thinking I need to clear you here.
So can you guys still hear us with our questions? We thought maybe what we would do is have each class come up one at a time. You guys had some really, really great questions, and you could ask Postmaster Gail what some of your questions were. So could we start with Mrs. Reicherts' job or Mrs. Reicherts' class? All right. Hi, Mrs. Reicherts' class. Do you guys remember what your question was? Could one of you come up and ask the question for the group?
How long have you been doing the post office?
Oh my goodness, I've been working for the post office for a long time, since 1996. That is a long time. I started out as a rural carrier sub, and I just carried the route whenever the regular carrier wasn't available. I delivered mail on a 100-mile route. We drove 100 miles every day. And then I was a clerk in the Hartford post office. And then I was a postmaster in the Ashby post office. And for the last 9 years, I've been at the Menominee Falls office as a supervisor. So you guys can do the math for me. 2022 minus 1996.
It's a really long time, and it just shows that at the post office, there's lots of different jobs you can do, and you can stay in that work for a long time. Awesome. All right, Mrs. Bison's class, you guys asked a couple questions. Are you on, Mrs. Bison, that you guys could jump on and ask? How about Mrs. Maroney's class? Yeah, we can go. Ours got muted somehow. Hi. How are you? Oh, would you like to ask your question to Postmaster Gail?
How many letters do you receive in a day?
Well, today we delivered 3,625 letters. We delivered 920 pieces that we call flats, which are like shaped like a magazine. And we delivered 250 parcels.
That's a lot. Thanks, Mrs. Bison's class. How about Mrs. Maroney's class?
Okay. Thank you.
Look like you guys had the same question. Did you want to ask a different question? No.
Alrighty. Thank
Okay.
you.
How about Mrs. McCoy's class?
How does mail get all around the world?
Oh my goodness. We use just about everything. We use airplanes. We use boats. We use trucks. We use, do you know what, in the come on, help me, the Grand Canyon, we use mules. We load up the mail, obviously not around the world, but in the United States, in the Grand Canyon, they deliver the mail using a mule.
Do you guys know what a mule is?
Donkey?
It's like a donkey. They have donkeys delivering the mail. That's amazing.
Down in Lake Geneva, the mail carrier rides on a boat and he delivers the mail. There's all kinds of ways we transport mail, airplanes, boats, trains.
Great question. Thanks, guys. How about Mrs. Marshall's class?
How many post office vehicles do you have?
Right here in Ixonia, we have 3 of them. The post office itself has a bunch of different vehicles. We've got the great big white ones with the red white and blue stripes. They're called long life vehicles. Right here in Ixonia, we've got white vans that we call mattresses. They're here in Ixonia, we've got 3.
And do they ever just look like cars? Do they?
One of our routes has a red Jeep. He has his very own vehicle. It's not a postal owned vehicle. He owns his vehicle and then the post office pays him to deliver mail.
Wow.
Using his own vehicle.
Is that because he has to drive a really far distance?
He's the one with the biggest route.
Wow.
He's got a 70-mile route.
70 miles. That's
Every
a
day.
long drive every day to stop and deliver mail. Wow. Another good question. Okay, how about Mrs. Rennecke's class? Not sure. Is Mrs. Rennecke on? Not sure if she's on right now. How about Mrs. Tim's class? I know she's got a substitute today.
Oh.
We have some of Mrs. Tim. Oh, hi, Mrs. Brandon.
Hi, I was
Hi.
going to say, we can fill in. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mrs. Lavenberg.
Okay, Maren, do you want to ask the question? Okay, do you remember what it is? Okay, go ahead.
What is your most surprising letter?
What is your most surprising package you've ever had to deliver?
Well, had to deliver. I don't actually deliver the mail anymore, but we do get baby chickens. My favorite time of the year is the spring. We get boxes full of baby chickens in here. And when you walk in the door, the first thing you hear is beep, 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 beep. Oh. And we have to call the people right away to come get them because those little baby chickens are so hungry and they need some water and they need some warmth. So we do get baby chickens on a regular basis. The other day, somebody mailed a ball and wrote on it, "Hey, did you know that you can mail a ball?" Sometimes people go to Hawaii and they send back coconuts. So yeah, a lot of interesting things we find in the mail.
That's very cool. In fact, I think somebody mailed a ball to
Thank
Ixonia
you.
School as part of our post office.
Oh, that could be.
So that was really fun. Great question. Mrs. Reicherts' class had a simple question. I can't see if in Mrs. Reicherts' class, you guys had one more question, but I'm not sure if Miss Green has access to that question. Do you guys remember what it was?
What is it?
I don't have access to it. Do you
No.
remember what?
How old is the post office building you're using today?
How old is the post office building that you are using today?
Good heavens. The building that we're using today isn't owned by the post office. We are renting from the feed mill. And this is a pretty old building. It's very old. I know for a fact it's been here at least 30 or 40 years, but I think probably even longer than that. The post office itself has been around for a long, long time. Way back in 1970, we used to be called the post office department. And the reason we were called the post office department was because we got tax dollars. They reorganized everything in the 1970s and we became the post office. We got no tax dollars, and every time we sell a stamp, that helps pay for all of our trucks and our processing equipment and all of our transportation. So a lot of changes in the post office. It's been around for a long time. Somebody's waving way in the back.
Yeah, very cool. We've got maybe another minute or two, or is there anybody who's dying to ask a question from some of the things that you have learned about the post office in the past month? Is there anything you guys are wondering about? We've got Postmaster Gail here.
Oh,
She is
no.
like our expert.
No
She's the
pressure.
lady to ask. Are there any other last questions?
And if you think of anything, please don't hesitate to write it down and check.
So Miss Sullivan's class asked a question about your schedule. What does your schedule look like, or what does the schedule of a mail person look like?
Sure. So my carriers start at 6:30 in the morning, which is kind of unusual. Most carriers and most post offices don't start that early, but it works here in Ixonia, and so we keep it that way. They come in at 6:30 in the morning.
They sort mail for approximately an hour or two. Then they're usually out there on the street about 9 o'clock 10 o'clock in the morning. They're often back by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I personally start at 8 o'clock in the morning and I work until 5 o'clock in the morning. The earliest anybody's here in Ixonia is 5:30 in the morning, and the latest anybody's here is about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We actually have, somebody is asking, how do we get mail on the airplanes? We actually have a airport post office department down there at the airport in Milwaukee. All of the mail goes through that branch, and they put it on the airplanes and take care of it. What's the longest length I've driven while delivering mail? The longest route I was on was the one in Neosho, and I said it was 100 miles. I think it was 98 miles, but we drove all through Neosho, up and down Highway 67 and out to Hughesford, and it was a long route, but it's fun. I enjoy it. I enjoy every part of my job. I enjoyed delivering. Supervising was a challenge. I had 50 employees in Menominee Falls, and I loved working with the public and selling stamps and helping customers, mail their items.
One more question. What is the longest? Wait, actually, two more really good questions. What is the longest? Oh, we did that one. Sorry about that.
Let's know how far.
Yeah, I know. Have you ever lost mail? Ooh, that's an important question. And what happens if you do?
I personally have not ever lost mail, but as a supervisor in Menominee Falls, I've talked to an awful lot of customers who are concerned about their mail not being where it's supposed to be. And a lot of that has to do with how it's addressed. Sometimes people write the wrong address on a letter. Sometimes they don't write all of the address on a letter. Sometimes they use an old address that the person used to live at. And the post office forwards mail for a whole year after a person moves if they submit a forwarding order. But after a year and a half, we don't keep track. We only keep track of it for so long. And our society right now is so mobile that people don't stay in one place very long. So it is more difficult. But yes, every now and again. So in Milwaukee, they do have a routine scheduled cleaning of the machines because they process. I've got a video I'm going to send to your principal, and she's going to show you later. But we process the mail using machines, and the machines, it goes up a conveyor belt and it goes down a conveyor belt and it goes around a corner, and sometimes mail can get stuck in those machines. So they actually have scheduled cleaning of those machines, and I think it's daily, just to make sure there aren't any letters stuck in there. Parcels, there are different ways of finding a parcel that isn't where it's supposed to be, and lots of resources. So yes, it happens. But when you consider the thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of mail and magazines and parcels that we touch every single day, it is possible that mail does sometimes get misplaced.
But it sounds like it starts with you guys. Just as you've learned how to address mail, it's really important that you do it accurately so it gets to where it needs to go.
And legibly. Oh my goodness. As a postal,
write it clearly, right? When you practice your letter writing.
As a postal employee, I have learned to read upside down, backwards, and decipher some horrendous penmanship.
So write clearly, boys and girls, so the mail gets to where it needs to go.
That helps.
And the last question is, have you ever gotten mail from a famous person?
My father received mail from a president. I personally have not ever gotten mail from a famous person. My husband has some presidents that he admires, and he has written them letters and said, he's mailed them a book. He mailed a book to Richard Nixon and said, I really, really love this book. I really like you as a president. And Richard Nixon sent the book back to him and wrote in it, dear Tim, thank you. Signed it, Richard Nixon. That was pretty amazing.
So there are ways to connect with famous people through the mail. That's super cool. All right. Well, I think that's all we have time for today. I hope you learned a little bit about how Ixonia's post office works and made a connection to some of the learning we've done at school this past month. So keep up your letter writing. We have one more day to do that. But I think we should all thank Miss Gale for her time today teaching us about the Ixonia post office. So can everybody turn on your cameras and give her a silent wave?
What do you say?
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for stopping in. Appreciate it. Thanks for talking to me and giving me a chance to talk to you.
All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Everybody.